Hello, everyone. My name is James Phillips. I am a certified medical laboratory scientist. I work as a medical laboratory officer in the Army. I am currently laboratory manager for Weed Army Community Hospital. I'll be doing a presentation today on polycystic ovary syndrome, or better known as PCOS. This topic is extremely important to me as both my wife and her twin sister have been diagnosed. This presentation has taught me so much of what they go through and the processes being made in treatment for my daughter, who is 7. PCOS has been a confusing disease for centuries. In 1928, Lesnoy and Stein in 1931 were the first to describe polycystic ovaries. 100 years later, PCOS has become the more prevalent diagnosis in females. It has been discovered that PCOS is the most heritable also, which is concerning for me in regards to my daughter. Heritable means that it can be passed down or is transmitted. The NIH criteria, hyperandrogenism, and ovulatory dysfunction is required, along with Roterman criteria, which requires additional criteria of polycystic ovarian morphology, were established diagnostic criteria until this study. The following is a depiction of what it took to accomplish the large-scale genetic research study. They, along with 49 other authors, not only identified genetic components associated with PCOS, but also identified the association of criteria with NIH and Roterman criteria. Please take your time to look at this. Genome-wide association study, or better known as GWAS, was the meta-analysis that the authors used to analyze specific target locations that showed mutations that exhibited PCOS. The article utilized basic statistical data retrieval, such as odds ratio and 95% confidence interval, within which resulted in a probability to compare effectiveness. The authors took the meta-analysis a step further and compared all 14 genes that they had found to the NIH Roterman criteria. Here are two more methods that the authors used to correlate and to um, quantify um, different types of environmental factors. One is the LD score regression, which was used to show correlations of different phenotypes such as obesity and lipid panel levels to show association. This projected a poor diet and exercise of patients and effects it had on the phenotype and the disease. The second one, Mendelian randomization method, was used more of a quantitative measure to highlight association risk factors of environment. The results. The importance here is to slice it up in sections. So the first study and the first results pushed out was the 14 genes that were analyzed to show association with PCOS, the specific gene mutation that they used. The second one is to put it into NIH Roterman criteria, where they took all 14 genes and tested to show some association with the already established criteria with PCOS. The third was to account for and to analyze environmental factors or risk factors in this case, as the individuals diagnosed with PCOS move throughout their life. A big example here is the type 2 diabetes, which is a type of diabetes that comes with age. Statistical significance. Now, this is the most important slide to me. Table 2, which is in the upper left-hand corner, shows the meta-analysis association between all genes that they found. The importance here is to show the highlighted genes here because these are newly discovered based off this large-scale genome testing. The second chart down at the bottom right-hand corner shows the meta-analysis associated between the NIH and Rodman criteria. This is significant because the three that are outlined in the description and highlighted bold here, they show a probability and a strong association between all three of the criteria. Here, I just wanted to show how the author showed correlation between the LD score and the Mendelian randomization methods. The biggest thing to point out here is male pattern balding, which is the first genetic evidence for male phenotype that presented with this study. It's the first of its kind. So, general overview of the article. 50 authors, to include Day, did a study on PCOS diagnosed individuals and tested their genome sequencing. With that, they took it further to see what the relationship was with the already established criteria and potential risk factors. With the results in the 14 genes showing strong correlation with all of the predestined criteria, also showed risk factors, which actually produced its first genetic evidence, the male balding or male pattern balding. Discussion. The need for this type of meta-analysis is a scientific triumph for the century. Like I've mentioned before in this, the male phenotype of male pattern balding, first genetic evidence, first discovery was this study. The second is the criteria that was already defined shows strong association with the 14 genes. And then the three that were bolded actually show a potential for a treatment in the future. Genetic medicine is improving. It is essential and it's more frequently used in this century. And as we progress within the next 10 years, I foresee studies getting better, genetic testing getting better, better capabilities of targeting, better sequencing, showing this type of data here that Day and his team of authors produced will actually lead us to a treatment or a cure, or at least limit the amount of significant factors that play. I hope this happens for my daughter as she gets older. These are the references that I used. I appreciate you listening to my article, my presentation, and I look forward to your discussions. Thank you and have a good day.